Yeah, here I am all bearded up, but making some inroads into psychosis. I realised yesterday that elements of my early childhood trauma, could be described as engaging in capricious behaviour. I've given myself some fucking grief trying to psychoanalyse it, when in reality is it's simple as that. And I thought I could rise above it, basically. I thought that, it was, well, I shouldn't say thought, because it's very seldom I thought or I think. It's more about reacting to an impulse or responding to an impulse, I should say. Where I feel as though something's, legitimate, I then try and augment it, and I guess that's where thought comes into it. But initially it's just a felt sense, where I feel something is permissible and generally it's pleasurable in nature, and that triggers, capricious behaviour, which I don't generally display in personal interactions that much. It's only been over the last 3 or 4 days that I've been acting out, mainly through faith and trust that I've developed, but also, by realising that, how I was trying to present myself as someone who was capable, competent and in control was basically due to the fact that I'd suppressed this kind of, facetious behaviour. It was like I was being really covert, so to speak. As I'd been fostered out, where the foundation of my personality had developed in my family of origin. But then I'd gone on to live, in a foster home, basically. And it's just a metaphor used to describe, that I'll use to describe how, I tried to integrate moral ethics and behaviour, whilst at the same time being very Machiavellian and covert in regards to my whimsical behaviour, wherever I felt an impulse that was delightful in nature, I generally have to act out upon it. And it might be as simple as, going and getting a can of Coke, or having something to eat. Having something to eat is quite natural, but sugar, and I've also realised that, this capricious behaviour, when it comes to the fore, in previous times, my ego has thought that it could dominate and control it, where in reality, that kind of libidinal attachment to the feelings that I incur during the course of engaging or indulging in capricious behaviour. That's where, in my mind's eye, I can engage in all of that kind of activity in interludes into, through fantasy, where I've been a parent, I've won $1 million, I've given speeches at an award ceremony at the Oscars and things along those lines. I've written novels, I've taken fucking governments to court and won. A lot of that kind of fantastical thinking is due to the fact that I have a very capricious personality, and that was triggering in of itself, because I acted capriciously. I can now see at the age of, going on 5 years old, something along those lines. And the end result was that was being assaulted, and because it aroused, jealousy, bitterness, anger, and resentment in another party, and they couldn't deal with it. So whilst I have engaged in capricious behaviour after that, there was no sort of congruency between my somatic self and this kind of mental operation or cognitive behaviour once I felt as though I was being flirtatious, and that's basically what I derived from a very immature and self-indulgent fucking mother who also had a capricious nature. And I was incredibly hard on her in the sense that I couldn't accommodate her in any other sense except for when she was being capricious. So I'm still very whimsical, and I've also realised that the only reason I have tried to change my attitude and behaviour is on the premise that I would evoke such undivided loyalty and devotion from those individuals, with high moral standards and ethics. I'd be welcomed into their fold, so to speak. So I guess, what I'm experiencing at the moment without getting overwhelmed is, a slight degree of aloneness, because I haven't met anyone else as of yet that can identify with that kind of capacity. And I also feel as though without being needy, that I'm on the right track, so to speak, and that it's quite natural if one is engaging in activity or behaviour that others find offensive, if they reject that, having a certain degree of trauma or experiencing trauma or being traumatized in regards to, capacitating that kind of personality, it's natural to feel a sense of alienation, estrangement, and to feel somewhat isolated, or even ostracized, which leads to that self-centered fear that I've been isolated, condemned, that I'm being persecuted and vilified. That's what I balk at. That's what instinct freezes within me. All those kinds of retribution or self-condemning judgments that I have internalized from other individuals. So it's all well and good. You know, um, I'm feeling okay. I'm living in supported accommodation, thinking about, uh, 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 moving to Thailand and retiring, possibly at the end of this year, if not sooner. Um, I feel as though, without being hopefully egotistical, that I'm stable, and that I can, given time, give an honest and open account of myself without being without feeling as though I have to make a complete uh, exposure of all my idiosyncrasies and indiscrepant or discrepant, or without revealing all the discrepancies within my mental and emotional makeup, because they're still being revealed to me as I continue to move forward in my life. So I thought being released from those persecutory judgments was about developing a relationship that was so intimate with all the idiosyncrasies and complexities of a maladaptive and dysfunctional childhood that was so precise and profound in nature that it would captivate, enchant, and enthrall, one of those individuals, especially a female with high moral and standards. I realise today that that's all a farce. And generally, those individuals with that kind of deportment, have their own suppressed issues. And I feel as though I can interact with them, without becoming servile and scraping, or otherwise without becoming facetious to the point where, I want to tease and torment them, so it exposes their suppressed appetites for that sadomasochistic fucking behavior. So I wouldn't say I'm adept, but I'm becoming more confident in the fact that I understand the nature of human beings, even those with pute and perfect ideals. And it's not as though I'll ever become an expert on them due to the cognitive impairment that I do have, and also taking responsibility for the fact that I have a thought disorder. So it's good to be sound, basically. I can still be a bit of a tyke and a fucking rogue, but I can rein that in, or well, it's in check at the moment. And it does lead to a manifestation of a compulsion to want to go out and get trashed. But I've been opening up about that compulsion as well, and getting real with others about it. So it's good to be here. Have a good day. Hope all is well for all you out there on Earth time. And that's basically what I feel, as though I have a lot more of an affinity with the nature of those individuals that have the capacity to be able to comprehend what Earth time is all about in its full essence. I was going to say complex, but it takes an intellect much greater than mine to be able to converse about those kind of intricacies. So peace be with you all. Ciao for now. Bye.